Man, oh man, do I have some stuff to share with you. What I learned this past weekend in Green Bay? Can the 49ers stroll into Buffalo this Sunday night and save their season? All that and plenty more next.
Yo, it's time to grind. With Brian on the mic, content is one of a kind. Now, welcome to my show, the BS Report, where we let the truth flow. We're breaking down the stories, shining light on the games. No fake news here, just hot takes blowing flames. The BS Report, yeah, we're keeping it tight. Bringing you the news, making it ignite. Tune in, turn it up, feel the heat rise. With Brian in the house, our takes won't be compromised. From the latest news to the hottest debates, in the BS Report, we're setting the stakes. So come along, join the ride, where Brian and his subscribers are full of Niner pride. Yo.
Well, this weekend in Green Bay was definitely eye-opening for me. I went into the game hoping to see a team with some fight, a team with some heart, a team that knew the season was on the line and they needed to pull out all the stops to get the win and try to right the course for the rest of the year. What I ended up witnessing was something completely different than that. The one thing that I would say stood out to me the most was what appears to me to be a lack of professional pride, almost organizationally. You know, I kind of expected to go in there once we knew that Brock was out and Trent was out and Bosa was out and Mooney Ward wasn't going to play. I would be lying if I said that I expected to win the game. But what I didn't expect was to see a lack of fight, a lack of effort. It was very just disheartening to witness that on the field. You know, and I don't know if it was just this game or if it's been something that's been going on the entire season, but being there in person and watching it live and being able to see the sidelines and being able to see exactly what was the demeanor from the coaches to the players, man, it was just so shameful. And I got to say, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect to look over to the sideline as the team is getting their money taken from them, their lunch money stolen from them by the Green Bay Packers. I didn't expect to see a nonchalant, lackadaisical attitude. I wanted to see and expected to see some fire, some fight, some pride. And I didn't see that. You know, there was at one point in the second half where during a break, they're playing music in the arena and George Kittle is dancing. And I'm like, bro, you're getting beat handily. The score at the time was not reflective of the feel of the game. And it was just so eye-opening to see that sometimes it feels like us as fans care more than the players. And man, that's just sad. It's very sad. And I feel like it's a failure organizationally, all the way from the top, from Jed York all the way down to the players on the field. You know, they say that the culture of the organization is set by the coach. And I would say that that's probably pretty accurate for the most part. But honestly, the culture should be set by the owner. It's his team. He should demand a certain level of integrity from his players, professional integrity. Now, none of what I'm saying applies to them in a personal matter whatsoever. I don't know any of these guys personally. So for me to comment on their personal integrity would be completely uncalled for. I'm talking solely from a professional standpoint. They don't have any professional integrity left. At least not this season. At least not that game. And it was very discouraging to see. You know, looking at the sideline when the game was starting to get away, and it wasn't out of reach yet, but it was, you could feel the momentum going that way. And you could feel the crowd starting to get really, really amped up. And you would think that the players would have a little fire in them, would have a little dog in them. And they didn't. They were standing around on the sideline and not even just hanging their head like they were upset or distraught or just bothered by the situation. It was like they were just sitting there waiting for it to end, waiting for the game to be over. Now, I will say, in the beginning of the game, especially in the first half of the game, Kyle had some fire. Now, part of me feels like Kyle can feel this slipping away, not just this season, but his grasp on the opinion of the fans, his grasp on the opinion of his players, of his organization. You know, in the first half, Kyle looked like a guy who felt like maybe he was fighting for his job a little bit. But in the second half, you didn't see that same fire from Kyle. You know, it was weird to watch him on the sidelines. Now, I don't know if this is him all the time. I would love to ask Grant, who watches, you know, every game live. I would love to ask him what Kyle's demeanor is on the sideline, you know, during every game. But in this particular game, it was odd to see him, especially when we were on offense. Let's say the line of scrimmage was like our own 35-yard line. He would be walking up the field just looking at his play sheet. Then he would stop looking at it and he would look at the game. And for a minute I was like, okay, maybe he's trying to look at it from the perspective of the defense. Maybe he wants to see the play from that perspective. But then I would look down at him and he wouldn't even be looking. He would just be looking at his play sheet. And he's way, you know, 15, 20 yards down the field by himself. And then I would watch him just pace. Back and forth pace. And Kyle's got that little strut, that kind of I'm a badass strut. I mean, it was just odd. And I was just thinking to myself, like, and I went to the game with my son, and I kept asking him, what is Kyle doing? Why does he keep walking down there and just staring into his play sheet? I didn't understand, you know. And then once the game started to get a little bit out of hand, and not so much as far as the score goes, but just as far as these guys just don't have it in them to come back this season. You know, once things start to roll away from them, they don't have fight. They don't have that tenacity to pull and scratch and claw their way back into it. So just from a momentum feel and a feel of the game aspect, I could tell that the game was out of hand. Like they weren't coming back. They weren't gonna survive. And so I was like, you know what? I want to watch Kyle. I want to watch the sideline. I want to see what Debo does. You know, is he trying to get guys lost? get himself locked in. And I was disappointed. I was disappointed because I didn't see any of that. And you know, it's really sad that that's the product that they put out there on the field because, you know, I live in Arizona and, you know, my son and I left Saturday afternoon to go to the airport and fly to Chicago, rent a car, and drive, you know, the 3.5 hours to Green Bay. And we get to the airport, and as we're walking around the airport, we see a few 49ers fans. Now, this is in Phoenix. And, you know, a couple of guys walk up to me, and they're like, hey, man, you going to the game? And these guys are getting off of a plane, in my opinion, connecting to another plane to fly into, you know, more than likely Chicago or Milwaukee. And I'm like, yeah, they're like, cool, we're us too, you know, we'll see you there. Excuse me. And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I mean, it's not like I'm at the airport in San Francisco or San Jose. This is in Phoenix. And then, you know, I get to Chicago and same thing. I'm walking around the airport, you know, trying to make my way over to the rental counter. And I see even more 49ers fans, you know, saying how they're on their way to the game, excited, stoked, just totally fired up to go watch this team. And then it's funny because we get to Milwaukee, now it's late. You know, I get to Milwaukee, I get to the hotel probably about 11:30 at night, and I walk up to the front desk, and the lady's like, she tells the other, who I would assume is like a bellhop or something. She's like, here we go, here's another one. And I just laughed. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, another 49ers fan. And I asked her, I was like, you got a lot of them in here? And she's like, yeah, probably half my guests tonight. And I was like, that's awesome. That is amazing to see the support that the fans are trying to give to this team. You know, and we get up Sunday morning, and you know, my son and I decide we're going to go spend the morning tailgating with the Packers fans, you know, to see what kind of shenanigans we can get ourselves into, you know. And I was talking to one of the security guards at the hotel, and I asked him, I was like, hey man, how are Packers fans with opposing fans? You know, I have my son with me, so I want to be prepared. You know, I don't want to get my son into a situation where I put him in any kind of danger or hostile environment. And so I asked the security guard, and he's like, bro, you have nothing to worry about. He's like, you guys are going to have a blast. He's like, these fans will welcome you. And as long as you're just having fun, you know, you can give them some ribbing. You can talk some smack. He's like, but if it's all in fun, he's like, you don't have anything to worry about. And he's like, and if it's not, and you're being out of hand, all they're going to do is ask a police officer or a Lambeau Field security officer to get you out of there. And so I was pretty excited. So we get up in the morning on Sunday, and we drive to Green Bay. And as we pull into town, and we're driving down towards the stadium, all you see walking up and down the street is fans. I mean, first of all, I got to say, the security guard was right. The Green Bay fans are amazing. I mean, just completely awesome. And I can say as an opposing fan, I felt nothing but welcome and accepted. And that was pretty cool. And you know, but we get there, we're looking for parking, and you just see, you know, waves of red, 49ers fans walking up and down the street. And I was thinking to myself, man, this is awesome. This is so cool to see as a 49ers fan, the way that this team supports, the way that the fans support this team. And, you get glimpses of that, when you're watching the game at home on TV and you can see the camera panning to the crowd and you can see all the red out there, but you get a whole different perspective when you're there. And, we park the car and we walk the mile, half a mile, whatever it is, to the Lambeau Field parking lots where the tailgates are going on. And, you would expect going to a stadium with the legacy and the history and the fan loyalty of the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field, you would expect to see a few hundred opposing team fans, But there was tens of thousands of them. I mean, it was insane. And I'm talking about fired up fans that were just excited and still had 150% belief that the Niners were going to pull this game out. I had a couple fans come up to me and be like, "Hey, bro, all we need is for Brandon Allen to be as good as Jimmy G, and we got it." And I was like, "Well, yeah, probably. That's not asking for a whole lot. So maybe." And these guys had a full on belief that the 49ers were going to pull this out. And, after watching that game, even after the game, I'm walking back to my car with my son, and I didn't think I had my head down, like upset or anything. I was just it was raining. It was starting to rain, and it was windy and kind of cold. So I was kind of just, But another 49ers fan walks up to me, and he chaps me on the chest like this, and he's like, "Hey, mother effer, keep your head up. It's all right." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good, bro. It's all good." And to see that, even after a performance like that, the fire that these fans still have. And it's just disappointing that that's the shit show performance that this team put out there for us to witness. These fans spent thousands of dollars to come watch this game. Between the tickets to the game, the airfare, the lodging, transportation. And that's how the team repays their fans? By putting out an embarrassment of a performance like that? Shame on all of them. That's disgusting. And you watch certain content creators and stuff that get frustrated at fans that have this fire Kyle blow it up mentality. Well, as a fan, when you're spending your hard-earned money to go support dudes that seem to not give a shit, it's real easy to come up with the idea of, we need to clean the house. And for the other half of the fans that still support and have undying loyalty to Kyle Shanahan and all the players that don't put forth the effort that should be expected of them. And now, I'm not saying that all the players are that way. I'm just saying the players that are that way still have 100% of a lot of the fans. So to those fans, I would say, man, more power to you. I think it's awesome that you are able to maintain that level of support when you're witnessing the team put out that level of a performance and an effort. That's crazy. Now, I don't want to turn this into a fire Kyle Shanahan show. I did that on my last one, and I'm sure at another time we'll get back to that. But this video, this show is not about that. This is not about firing Kyle. This is about Kyle and a select number of players on this team and his coaching staff and his front office and the ownership having a little bit of professional pride. Because you know what? You all are still employed. You all are still being paid to put out a certain level of quality, a certain level of product for these fans that you are only in the position you're in because of them. And I'm calling for you to have some professional integrity, because it's embarrassing for you to go out there and put out that embarrassing, disappointing, and shameful performance. Now, as I said, I'm not in this particular episode calling for Kyle to lose his job. What I'm calling for is to just understand what the hell is, what is he thinking? I don't understand how he can be so blind. You know, I've called Kyle an idiot a lot. I'll admit it. You know, that could potentially be a little bit disrespectful, and you know, Kyle's not an idiot, but he does idiotic things from time to time. That much is not debatable. And there was a point in the game when Jordan Mason had one carry for 16 yards, and Christian McCaffrey had what I believe was 8 carries for 15 yards. Now, I might be a little bit off on the amount of carries, but the 15 yards was legit. And the next play after Jordan Mason got the 16-yard run, he passed the ball twice. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, Kyle, run the damn ball. Jordan Mason just ran it right up the gut for 16. Why not do it again? It worked. Make them stop it. If it worked, do it again. And if it works again, do it again. And if it works again, do it again. Why are you always trying to outsmart yourself? You're trying to be cute. It's not cute, man. It's football. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I've come to the decision that it's one of two things. Either Kyle really is an idiot, which I don't think he is, or he is the most petty, stubborn person walking on this planet. Because, you know, you have content creators, you have former players, you have mainstream media sports hosts all calling for Kyle to split the carries up more, to use his young players more. And I know without a doubt that Kyle watches this stuff. I know that he sees guys in the 49ers content creation world, I know that he sees these national pundits and former players saying that he needs to do this stuff. And he has such a that he refuses to do it just because they're telling him to do it. It can only be one of those two things, because you can't tell me that Kyle really honestly thinks that at this particular moment, Christian McCaffrey is a more effective and better ball runner than Mason. You can't tell me that Kyle actually believes that at this particular moment, Deebo Samuel is more effective and more explosive than Ricky Pearsall or Jacob Cowing or Isaac Guerrero. Because if he really truly does believe that, then maybe he's not very smart, actually. And I don't believe that's the case. I do believe that Kyle is actually pretty smart. I don't think Kyle's an idiot. Now, his decision to be petty and spiteful is an idiotic thing to do. And it's a disgraceful thing to do. Because he's wasting an entire season basically just to give the finger to everybody who has the audacity to question him. It blows my mind. And what's funny about it is that if Kyle would just do these things, if he would just split the carries up, if he would just use the young players, if he would just do the things that I know he can see right in front of his face, he would get all the credit for that, for having the wherewithal and the intelligence to see that what he's doing now isn't working and making the change to something that would work. He would get nothing but praise for that. And the guys that already love Kyle, man, they would run with that. They would jump all over that. That would be like their flag in the ground. They would be like, see, Kyle is self-aware. See, Kyle can adjust. See, Kyle can get better. He can learn from his mistakes. And you know what? I'm one of the people that thinks Kyle can't get better. He will not learn from his mistakes. And I will be the first one to be like, you're right. I was wrong. But I am 100% confident that Kyle is not going to do that to me. He is not going to make me stick my foot in my mouth. You know? And to that I say, you know what, Kyle? I appreciate you looking out for me, bro, but I'm good, man. I have no problem eating that crow. Please. But he's not going to do it. And it's upsetting to me that, you know, our owner, Jed York, has such a man crush on this guy that he doesn't have the courage to step into his office and tell Kyle, hey, quit freaking pissing down your leg, man. Let's get it together. Let's do the right thing. All the way back, as soon as the last whistle blew in the Tampa Bay game, Jed York should have marched his ass over to Kyle and be like, don't ever do that shit again. Don't ever do that shit again. If I ever see you run Christian McCaffrey on 95% of the offensive snaps, that'll be your ass. Because you just convinced me to give this man a massive extension when he has bilateral Achilles tendonitis. And then you're going to run him out there on his first game back and pull that bullshit? Don't ever do that again. But Jed don't have the courage to do that. And that's shameful. That's shameful. Where's your professional pride, Jed? You know, I know technically Kyle is John Lynch's boss, but Kyle ain't gonna fire Lynch, and Jed's not gonna let him right now. Jed or John needs to walk into Kyle's office and be like, dude, what are you doing? Are you trying to make us look stupid? Because what you're going to do is you're going to take this guy that we already look like fools for extending, knowing that he had this injury. You're going to take him and run his ass into the ground so that he blows out one, if not both of his Achilles. And then we're really going to look like idiots for giving him that extension. So chill, Kyle. But John ain't going to do that either. You know, it's time for somebody, and you know who it should be. Really, it should be Christian and George and Trent and Bosa and Warner. You know, the Cabo clique, they need to walk into Kyle's office and sit down and be like, Coach, you know, Christian needs to have some self-awareness. And here's the thing, I think Christian does. I think Christian's well aware of the fact that he doesn't have it. In fact, I'm 100% sure in the fact that deep down inside of himself, Christian knows that he does not have it right now. Not to say he's never going to get it back. Not to say that this is who he's going to be moving forward. But at this particular moment in time, he doesn't have it right now. And it shows more and more and more as the game goes on. And so he should be the first one to speak up in that meeting. And he should tell Kyle, listen, man, I'm not there yet. I'm not saying to bench me. Use me in the passing game. Use me as a decoy. Put me and Jordan or me and Isaac out there at the same time. But give Jordan the lion's share of the runs. Give Isaac some mixed in there. And then give me a couple mixed in there as well. How about we keep the defense on their toes a little bit? You know? And you know, George should pipe in and be like, yeah, Kyle. And how about we throw some wide receiver screens to Isaac or to Jacob Cowing or to Ricky Pearsall? Some of these guys with some fire left in them, some explosion left in them. Let's get them involved. Let's switch it up because you know what? We're getting ready to go into Buffalo. And I guarantee you Sean McDermott is like every other coach who's played the 49ers this year. And he knows exactly what's coming to him. He knows exactly what Kyle's bringing. Kyle's not going to surprise him. So Kyle, how about you do it? How about you change it up a little bit? It's crazy. And then Bosa and Fred need to be leaders, and they need to be like, yo, Kyle, hey, man, how about if we get Devondre Campbell off the field? Let's give some run to these young guys like D. Winters. Somebody who still has a little bit of lateral quickness, who could move around a little bit. Because if Kyle's going to listen to anybody, it'll be those guys. He may not listen to them either. He probably won't listen to them. But at least they're showing some leadership. At least they're showing some care, like they want to win, some give a shit. But right now, they're not showing any of that. And to see, you know, in all these press conferences and stuff, the excuse making that goes on for Kyle. There's no excuse. There's none. You know, all the heat that Kyle's getting right now, that shit's bought and paid for, man. He owns that. This is not emotional fans. This is observation. This is pure just frustration with obvious shit. And I really don't get how Kyle can be so prideful and stubborn and blind. You know, it totally blows my mind that he can be so weak-minded that he lets dudes like Grant Cohn get in his head. You know, and if that came across as a knock against Grant, it wasn't. Not even in the slightest. I think Grant's amazing. I think Grant does a great job. And if I had the platform that Grant has and the ability to do what Grant does, I would do just what he does as far as those press conferences go. So when I say that he's weak-minded by letting Grant get in his head, what I mean is he's so petty and spiteful that because it was suggested by somebody who has the audacity to question him, that he's going to blow an entire season. That's weak. Have some self-awareness and be a man and admit you were wrong. Admit that you don't know always the right answer, but you're willing to fix it once you figure it out. That's a leader. That's someone that's capable of leading other men. Being stuck in your own ways and being too prideful to admit that, hey, you know, maybe I don't have the answers right now, or maybe this isn't working. That's not a leader. That's not being a man. That's being petty. That's being childish and immature. And it's very frustrating to see. Because this team still, with Purdy and Bosa and Trent and, you know, possibly Dre Greenlaw coming, this team has the firepower and the potential to make a run. But they need that leadership. They need their coach to step up and get out of his own way. But at the same time, all those men that I just named, they need to have some pride in their craft. They need to have some pride in that jersey that they put on every Sunday. They need to have some pride that they're a member of such an elite organization, not just in the NFL, but in the San Francisco 49ers. Have some pride in that. Have some appreciation for the fans that go out there and support you, unwavering support. And go put forth an effort that you can be proud of and the fans can be proud of. Win or lose, put out the effort. Don't be ducking press conferences. That's your job. You signed up for that when you signed that contract. Be accountable. You know, Debo, if you mess up and you put your hands on a teammate, own it. I messed up. My bad. You know, I get it. These guys are humans. But you know what? When I make a mistake, I own it. When I mess up, I'll own it. So, you know, I have a business, okay? And when I go to one of my customers' properties and I make a mistake, I have the self-awareness to tell the customer, you know what? I'm sorry. I messed up. I will do better next time and I will make it right. I don't try to duck the customer. I don't ignore their calls. I don't make excuses and point the finger and blame other people. So if that type of service is expected of me, then that type of performance is also expected of them. Because we are their customers. We pay good money and expect a certain product in return. And this shit that they're putting out there right now is not it. Now, I understand everybody has a bad game. I understand sometimes you have a season that's not going your way. Injuries mount up. You know, the league figures you out. Excuse me. And sometimes, you know, it takes a season to go through that and to try to adjust. But here's my thing with this team is even with the injuries, we had enough talent on this team to succeed, to produce, because there's a lot of teams out there and a lot of coaches out there that are doing a lot more with a lot less. That doesn't fly. Now, you can't make any excuse for effort. I don't care if it's not your year. I don't care if you're injured. I don't care what the case is. You should always be putting forth your best effort. Here's an example. I'll give it to Christian McCaffrey. I would say he's probably only 70% back. But he gives 110% of that 70% every game. I have no doubt about that. Zero. So I get it. A lot of you guys are banged up and injured. But if you're not of the ability to give 110%, then get the hell off the field. Whatever percentage of healthy and ready to go you are, if you're able to play, if you're going to be on that field, my expectation is that you give it your all. It don't matter to me how much money you make, whether you make $1 million or $60 million, or if you make $15. If you're getting paid to do something, then you need to do that to the best of your ability. That's the job. You know, John's job over here is to be a greeter at Walmart. So I expect him to greet all the customers that come through that door. Debo's job over here is to play his ass off for $26 million a year. So I expect him to play his ass off on every day. It's not negotiable. It was not written into his contract that he can play sometimes. That he can play hard sometimes. Kyle Juszczyk. So that I'm not putting on the coach. It's the coach's job to get the players prepared for the game. Kyle fails at that a lot. It's the coach's job to put the players in positions to succeed. Sometimes he fails at that too. It's a coach's job to do a lot of things. This team is full of grown-ass men making, it doesn't matter how much money, they're just getting paid. They should not need their coach to get them to put forth the effort that's necessary to go out there and put on a performance that's expected of them by their fans. By the brand that's on their jersey by both of them, the San Francisco 49ers brand and the NFL brand. They should not need their coach to get them to have the professional integrity to do their job. That's on them. But the same does apply to Kyle and John and Jed. It's an organizational wide failure this whole entire season. Now, on the player side of that, it's only a few players. The majority of them, I think, put forth fine effort. It's just that Kyle doesn't have them in positions to make a difference the way he should. The players that are not putting forth that effort should have their asses yanked off the field so fast. But these are Kyle's buddies, so he won't. And that's where Kyle is failing. It's not just in his play calling. I am not evaluating Kyle Shanahan as an offensive play caller. That's just part of it. I'm evaluating Kyle Shanahan as a head coach, as a leader, as the face of this franchise. And he's put himself there because he's made it all about him. So being how he's making it all about him, when shit hits the fan and shit's not going right, it's going to be all about him. So if the coaches aren't working out, whether it's the defensive coordinator or the special teams coordinator or the Gatorade coordinator, I don't care. That's on Kyle. If the players are old and slow and broken down and injured and worn out and washed up, that's on Kyle because he has the final say. Now, I heard Larry Krueger say the other day that Kyle doesn't know about all the players that are coming. That's John. Okay, that might be true. But Kyle holds the position of the final decision maker. So he damn well better know who's coming and going from this organization. Otherwise, he needs to remove that title from himself and give it to John Lynch, and I'll quit blaming him for it. But as long as he's going to say he makes the final decision, then he's responsible for it, regardless of whether or not he actually made it or not. I don't care who made the decision. He's got the final say. He's responsible for it. As far as I know, every damn decision that's made on the football side of this organization has Kyle's final stamp of approval on it. Now, whether that's somebody else just stamping Kyle's name or not, I don't care. So, Kyle needs to step up and have some pride in his whole job. Not just the offensive job, which, by the way, he's failing at. I apologize. My voice is still a little worn out from all the hollering this Sunday in Green Bay. But Kyle, he's just, to me, he just looks burnt out. He looks worn out, like he has, for 8 years, spread himself to the max, and there's no more. It's too thin. It's about to rip through. You know, and I don't want to make this, it's time to move on from Kyle show. But I feel like, you know what, Kyle, you know, you've done a lot for this organization. you did bring us back from some bad times. And, as a 49ers fan and a diehard 49ers fan, I can honestly say thank you. Sincerely. Thank you for everything that you've done for this organization. But, man, I don't know what you need to do to recharge, but you need to do it. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. Move on. Take more time than usual in the summer. I don't know. I don't know if you can do it before the end of this year. This year might be lost, which is a damn shame, because if you had a little bit of self-awareness, it would never got to this. But whatever it is you got to do, Kyle, get it done, man. Because after talking to thousands, literally, of 49ers fans over this weekend, I can tell you that the guys out here that support you, the guys out here that support this team, our expectation of you, Kyle, is to be better. And you can have this pompous ass attitude that you don't give a shit what we think, but you better. Because you're losing more and more and more fans every day that passes by. Every day, every game that goes by, Kyle is losing the fan base. He thinks it's bad to lose the locker room. Man, you want to have millions of people calling for your head, for your job? Then just keep going the way you're going. Because you know what? The 49ers are a huge brand. And their fans are true through thick and thin, all the way. All the way. But everybody has a limit, Kyle. And when you keep doing the same dumb shit over and over and over again, it gets really hard to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to go watch a failure, a disappointment. And Kyle might think, well, I'll never lose that much. There's always going to be people that come. Well, if that's your attitude, buddy, then you know what? Shame on you. Because all that's asked of you, Kyle, is to put forth your best effort. That's it. Now, if your best effort, here's the thing. I believe that your 100% best effort is good enough to win multiple Super Bowls. I believe that if you put out 100% of your best effort, we probably have 3 of them in your tenure. We win both of them against the Chiefs, and I think we beat the Rams and win that one against the Bengals. If you put out your best effort. Not this bullshit that you've been showing us, but your actual best effort. I believe it would be good enough. But I also don't believe that Kyle will ever put that out there. I truly do not believe that. Now, man, I hope I'm wrong. Like I said, I hope Kyle makes me eat crow. I will love nothing more than that. So can the Niners save their season this week? Can they go into Buffalo and pull it out? Only being, a game back in the division? Yeah. They could. I don't think they will. I don't think it matters who plays. I really don't. And this game is going to be cold. It's going to be windy. It's going to be snowing. This is the perfect game to get 15 plus carries for Jordan Mason, 10 plus carries for Garendo, 12 to 15 carries for McCaffrey, and just run the shit out of the ball. It's the perfect game for that. It's a perfect game to throw some short wide receiver screens to Isaac Garendo and Jacob Cowling and Ricky Pearsall and see what they can do in a little bit of space. It's a perfect game to run Brock or Josh Dobbs, who I believe should actually start if Brock can't go. It's a perfect game to move them around on some bootlegs and get them, in some space, shorten the field a little bit and see what they can do, especially if Brock's arm's not 100%. It's a perfect game to add a little bit of wrinkles into Kyle's game plan, but I don't think he'll do it. So let me ask you guys, do you think Kyle will change this game? Do you think he's actually gonna look at the tape and have an epiphany and realize, oh my God, I'm shitting the bed here? Do you think Kyle's got it in him? Honestly, put it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. How do you feel about the product that this team's putting on the field? And, let me know in the comments, do you guys feel any less inclined to financially support this team, knowing the type of effort that they put out there? Because like I said, to me, it seems to me like Kyle is kind of pissing the season away out of spite, because I really don't think he's an idiot. And if he really honestly believes that this is the best way to go, well, then it's kind of an idiotic way to think about things. So, if you disagree with me, let me know that. I'd love to have a conversation. So I'll be watching out for the comments, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate the support. We'll talk soon. Peace.